and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Tonight, we begin with one issue that impacts all of us, especially those of us who give importance to medical insurance and have taken great pains and efforts to protect ourselves and our families from medical eventualities and the financial burden of these medical eventualities. Amid job losses, salary cuts, skyrocketing medical expenses, especially for those who contracted COVID, insurance is something that a lot of people believe they can rely on. An insurance policy is supposed to be a safeguard against the unforeseen eventualities, for example, this pandemic. But amidst the COVID pandemic, many people, despite having insurance, have been left in the lurch. From claims being rejected to only being partially paid out, hospitals refusing cashless facilities, to some claims just being endlessly pending without any clarification. People are struggling when it comes to insurance at every level. Now, this is not to say that the system is easy for everybody. The hospitals have been overwhelmed as well in this entire pandemic, taking on more than they can handle, running out of drugs, running out of oxygen, cases getting serious, deaths everywhere. So it is understandable that they too will be overwhelmed, and they have to ensure that the functioning of the hospital continues in such times. The insurance companies are overwhelmed as well. Never before has there been such an unprecedented pandemic in our country and anywhere across the world. And so obviously the number of claims have never before been to this extent, as thousands got hospitalized across the country. The bills piled up, and so did the insurance claims. But of what has been claimed, what is disappointing is to see what has been given back to people. 15.32 lakh COVID-related claims were made, 2.5 lakh were settled in some terms. 82% of the number of claims made was settled essentially, the rest were not. But when you look at the quantum of the claims, roughly about 23,715 crore worth of COVID-related claims were made, and only 12,133 crore worth of claims have been paid out. So if you look at the amount that was claimed under the insurance and what has been paid up, there is a drastic difference there. And this has become a big talking point. These are just statistics to back what you probably already know. If you've had somebody who's been in the hospital, in your own family, in your relative circle, in your friend circle, colleagues, this is a story everywhere. State after state, if you look at the data, there is a huge concern. The data that we're sharing with you comes from the GIC. So, is there a solution? Can the hospitals and the insurance companies look towards a solution that benefits the people? Do we need intervention of some kind from the government? Let's ask the experts who are joining us tonight. Dhananjay Bantia, certified financial planner, founder of Smart Acumen Consulting, joins us this evening. Dr. Harsh Mahajan, founder and chief radiologist with Mahajan Imaging, president for Nat Health, joins us this evening as well. Pankaj Bansal, chief business officer for bankbazaar.com, and Sitanshu Swain, senior journalist, joining us as well on this conversation. Pankaj, let me start off with you. Obviously, It's an overwhelming time for insurance companies as well to stare at this kind of an amount. Now, is there a policy that most of them seem to be following as to how to meet this demand and settle these claims?
Yeah, so if you look at data, right, Tanvi, the numbers are absolutely right. We have about 23,000 crore claims which has been claimed in the COVID pandemic, out of which 12,000 broadly has been settled so far. But if you look at the number of consumers who have been settled, right, from that particular 14.5 number that we already have seen, about 12.5 have already got settled. And the balance 2.5, 3 lakh customers are still pending to be settled. I think that's the broader number from a GIC perspective. What we have also seen is that the claim ratios, right? Just a couple of months back, it was about 154,000 per claim, and the settlement was about 95,000 per consumers that we have seen being settled. So I think there is a gap in terms of the settlement ratios, in terms of what has been claimed and what has been settled. Still, I'm absolutely right that it's about 11,500 crore claim needs to be settled by the insurance companies. There are challenges at both the ends. The challenges are not restricted to insurance companies. The challenges are at all the ends. It's a once in century kind of a pandemic that we guys have been hit. And obviously, second wave really worsened the situations for all insurance companies, for hospitals, for patients. So I think it's a three-level phenomena we have seen where everybody has got impacted. But the good news is that even the regulator has stepped in. We have seen that regulator has really, in the last couple of months, instructed that the cashless schemes has to be done by the hospitals. So we have seen some changes happening at a regulator who's pushing very hard on the insurance for a consumer benefit as well. Second, that we are also seeing, right, in terms of the numbers have started increasing from 52%. We are seeing that about 82% have come, and this is a good trend because people have also learned the way it has to be structured, how the product has to be disbursed, how the process has to be worked, and there is some learning in the system which has come in the last 14 months, I would say, and you will see this should go up further down here, and obviously the wave is receding, so this will also help the claim ratios to move better. That's our view from now.
Okay, so you're saying that you're hoping that the situation improves from here on, and of course, what the data suggests is, possibly a trend that what is being claimed, a large part of it isn't really being settled as well. So, and that's where a lot of disappointment is coming in. A lot of shock is coming in for people who've bought these insurance covers, thinking, okay, this is a way I can protect my family in the times of pandemic. And when they stare at what's really coming back to their bank accounts, that's where the problem is. The other problem, I think, largely is about the cashless part. Dr. Harsh Mahajan, and I think we saw horrifying stories emerge this time around in the second wave, where hospitals were not very keen and finding various ways of dealing this. Insurance companies said, well, we are able to authorize it, as fast as possible, 60 minutes or whatever. But for some reason, there was a lot of blocking at the hospital level. Now, who fixes that? Who can we go to when that happens?
Thank you, Tanvi. At the outset, let me put some things in context. One, that the patient should never be made to suffer. This is something between the insurance companies and the hospitals. They should actually sit together and solve it. This pandemic has been around now for over 15 months, and I'm sure the learning from it would be such that based on that, we should be able to figure out what to do. Point number two, as taking up from what Mr. Bansal said, remember that the average claim was 1,56,000, and these exaggerated numbers that go, on social media of 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, those may be just exceptions. So as per GIC itself, it is 1,56,000, and the average admission for a patient is for 10 days. So that means the patient, the hospital is charging only about 16,000 roughly per day for COVID treatment. So that's the second fact. Now, point number three, cashless. Why would a hospital not give cashless treatment if they had the permission to do so from the insurance company? There would be no problem at all, because this is an ongoing transaction between the hospital and the insurance company. And so a hospital, if given clearance, would have no problem in admitting a patient. Number one, it is a fact that the hospitals were overwhelmed. There were more patients than they could take. And an impression may have gathered that because I'm a cashless patient, that's why they are not giving me a bed, whereas there may be no bed available. Point number two, it does take time getting permission for cashless treatment. between the hospital and the insurance company, during which time the hospital has no alternative but to wait. Because how can he admit a patient on the promise of being paid money when there may be others who are cash paying patients? And so a patient has to wait. So I think it's a problem which needs to be sorted out, and it has to be sorted out between the hospital and the insurance company. The regulator, if the regulator has to come into play, then that means these two parties are not able to sort it out amongst them, and then it'll be a unilateral decision which will be taken, which may or may not be in the best interest of the patient. So this is my take on
Dr. Mahajan, I largely agree with the points that you're raising, except for the fact that you say that why would any hospital deny cashless? I think everybody on the panel here, in our newsroom, watching television in those households, everybody would have heard of a story where there has been this struggle. There is no denying the fact that this has been a problem. Now, to what extent was it from the hospital's end, or to what extent was it, the insurance companies who weren't playing along? That is for the regulator and the governments to really investigate and find out. But at the end of the day, like you said, if a patient or a family has to stand there and they are told that this facility is not available, you need to upfront pay us 5 lakh now, 9 lakhs now, 12 lakhs now.
Tanvi,
And I'm sorry, the statistics of an average of 1.5 lakh is very different, because when I'm assuming you start including hospitals of all sizes from all tiers and all kinds of sizes of cities as well and towns as well. But if we look at the key cities where a big chunk of your patients were and the load on the hospitals was, nobody would have gotten discharged with just a bill of 1 lakh rupees, Dr. Mahajan.
Let me come in there just for 30 seconds. These are also the hospitals which provide tertiary and quaternary care, which is more expensive. These are the hospitals which have 150-bed ICUs with ventilators. These are the hospitals which also provide ECMO. So, comparing a small nursing home in a tier 2, tier 3 city with a high-end hospital in a large city which actually is looking after patients who are very, very sick, I think we have to look at them differently. And you are right, absolutely, that the billing for a patient who would be in the ICU on a ventilator, on a ECMO, where all kinds of medication is used, would definitely be much, much higher. Also, do remember that even today, the treatment of COVID is not settled.
Yes.
There are no set things. You see from the government, from ICMR, recommendations coming last year that this is good. And now it says that please go discontinue these 4 or 5 treatments because they don't work. So it is also a learning process, and this is not India specific. This is a global phenomenon.
Correct. Okay. Let me take up that point as well and take it across to Dhananjay Bantia. Dhananjay, is that a concern as well, that there isn't a set protocol to COVID treatment? It's evolving. With every passing month, we figure CT scans, we figure oxygen cylinders, which are required on a larger basis, and perhaps a lot of these insurance plans or policies don't cover a large chunk of it.
Right. See, as a financial planner, we have been advocating since long that you need to have these 2 financial vaccine, that is having a term insurance and a health insurance. But if you look at the ground challenge right now, when we are connecting with the clients who are there, they are saying that right now the insurance company is deciding whether we should be admitted or not. It is not the hospital that decides, because they have set in certain criteria as per the guidelines of the regulators, or what are the guidelines that has come from the AIIMS. What they are saying is there are 3 scenarios wherein if it is into the moderate or high zone, you can get admitted. If you are the one who has entered wherein you are just having the syndrome, you can be treated at your home, then we are not going to pay for the same. And when you talk about the kind of percentage of claim settlement that has been done, the figure is in front of us. There are lots of items which is not covered. When you talk about items which are not covered, like for example, PPE kits, the mask that they use, the gloves that they use. These are the few things that are excluded when they pay the final bill. So as a patient, when I'm entering into a hospital, I believe that if I have taken a health insurance policy, if I am covered for 5 lakh rupees, I assume that most of the expenses that I'm going to incur will be covered. But when I get the bill and I find out that out of this 4 lakh rupees, which was the treatment cost, only 1 lakh was covered, remaining 3 lakh was subjected to conditions and terms. So that is where I have a question whether I have done a right decision of taking this policy. I have been paying the premium for last 4, 5, 7 years, expecting that during my tough times, I will be getting benefit out of this. And second, the most important challenge that right now we are facing is, say, for example, if we are not happy with the claim settlement process, we can definitely connect to the ombudsman. The problem here is the number of vacancies is still empty in major locations. If we talk about Chennai, if we talk about Bangalore, so that particular slot is vacant. So people don't have an option where they can go and they can claim and they can get this settled. So I believe that the working on ground has to be done, and we have to accept and the one fact that these are unprecedented time. We cannot make provision for such time because this is again a pandemic kind of situation. But I believe that the kind of action that the regulator has taken from their end, there will be a kind of standard process that will be laid down. And it's already 15 months, as rightly said by one of the gentlemen. It is already 15 months. It has to be well thought out guidelines and process so that the patient or the people who are getting impacted, they don't get burdened because of this financials that they have to bear because of this treatment.
Okay, fair enough. Let me take it to the next step. And you mentioned the regulator. Mr. Sitanshu Swain, good evening to you. The finance minister specifically, in fact, spoke on this issue and spoke about the multiple reports that have also emerged about people struggling with cashless facilities or insurance claims. Now, what is it that the regulator can do to address the pending insurance claims, or even the 10% of the payment that comes through when you're hoping for much higher? What can the regulator do to help the people?
Good evening, Tanvi, and good evening to my fellow panelists. But the issue here is, you know what? That who is regulator? Can IRDA be a regulator for the healthcare sector? Corona is all about hospitals. Insurance comes next. So after getting treatment, what are the problems from insurance point of view, IRDA can take care. But Corona is not just all about insurance payment, the claim settlement. It all starts with how the hospital has to behave. And somebody said that how much you are charging, are you charging the fair price? That IRDA is definitely not going to decide. Yes, they will prescribe. But it is up to the hospital who they may accept or not accept. So here the issue is to cut the entire thing short, is that you need a health regulator. IRDA cannot regulate the healthcare sector. Correct. Yes, insurance have to be a part of the healthcare sector. Because, hardly a few percentage, 2-3% of Indian population have health insurance policies. And suppose you take government policies, then it comes to 20-25%. But then there is a huge road to be covered. Who will do that? And IRDA, as a journalist, I have seen at each step, right from the day one that Corona will be covered or not, there was a confusion. But then they said, yes, Corona is covered. Then they said specific Corona policy has to be introduced. That also was done. But the confusion never ended. And it never really satisfied the patient or the customers. Yes, everybody said that it will really give a huge boost to health insurance sector and all. That is fine. But what about the people who are already suffering and they are facing problem? Who is, how to sort it out? And if you see here, the courts, high courts, Supreme Court, they have come as a regulator. Some issue is there, somebody is going to the court and the court is saying, yes, you do this way. And yes, court has said many things to government on vaccine and everything. So here the court has acted as a regulator in the absence of a health care regulator. And IRDA will have a limitation. And IRDA cannot be binding on the hospitals. What IRDA does, IRDA will prepare the overall regulation. They will ask their insurers that, okay, you go and sign an agreement with the hospitals that these are the things. But hospital can always violate that. That is not cast in the stone. So that trust deficit, that lacuna It has not been attended at all. In this even corona time also.
So there are two aspects that you raised, Mr. Swain.
Last month.
Yes, there are two very important, crucial aspects that you've raised. And I do want to talk about creation or possibility of a health regulator and whether that regulator should have a, a control over both the aspects, insurance and the hospitals. But before that, like you said, initially there was confusion of whether or not COVID is covered. Then they said, yes, COVID can be covered, or you come up with COVID special plans. But even now, citizens are, for example, realizing and are being told remdesivir costs cannot be covered under this insurance plan. Now, then what are you left with, Dhananjay? Are we simply saying that, okay, just pay for my hospital room cost? Because there isn't any other treatment drug that is being, that we've found so far. Various other costs that come into play. If half of them get rejected this way, then what's covered?
That is what I just wanted to focus on. I said, because right now we don't have a list, we don't have a standard list which is mentioned that, yes, this is what is going to be covered when you get admitted because of COVID. Because for most of us, the chapter of COVID started last year. And to be very honest, in this, when we talk about any insurance coverage that we take, there are different terms and conditions that is getting applied in the same. So when COVID came into scenario, first of all, there was a bit of confusion whether COVID will be covered or not. Once that was approved, yes, it will be a part of list of disease that will be covered in the health insurance policy. Right now, the second confusion was what was the item that will be covered for treatment of this disease. So right now, as you rightly said, when you talk about the items which are not covered, the customer has to pay for that, and certainly they cannot get it reimbursed because these are the items which is not covered as per the guidelines of that insurance policy that they buy. And one more thing that I want to highlight is there are few instances wherein there are few claims that has been filed by the customers, but that has been rejected because of some genuine ground. There were a few policies that were lapsed. Inside that scenario, the insurance company is not liable to cover that. That is one. Second is, in one scenario, there was a case which I came across last evening. I found that the customer was having a disease which was not disclosed to the insurance company. So there are certain things which at the customer end is not disclosed, and that for that time also the claim gets rejected. So we always request customer, whenever you are getting your insurance policy done, do ensure that all the factual things are disclosed so that at the time of making claim, all this rejection issue doesn't come into picture.
Okay, fair enough. But for example, will it be not the regulator's place to come up with more specifics for the insurance companies, Mr. Swain, to specify whether or not certain drug costs should be covered in COVID process? Because now we are clearer about what is the management protocol as per the government's latest regulations. Whether or not PPE costs will be covered. That's become a big debate of if the ICU staff is going to be using the same PPE kit while taking care of 10 patients, can it be billed to 10 patients? And will the insurance companies then take it for any of those 10 patients? So these kind of confusions have to be at some point settled. Either the IRDA sits with the government or the hospitals. How do we go about this?
No, here what has happened is that, yes, initially whatever the confusions are there, one by one it has been taken into account, and IRDA or insurance companies are trying to sort it out. But what you said, whether remdesivir is covered or not, that's a very complicated issue. And no, the larger issue that they have been facing is that how much one item will be charged, and who will take a call on that. Here also I will say that there is a trust deficit. What the hospitals are charging, the insurance companies are not accepting that. They are saying a lot of fraud things are happening. So here the trust deficit is also is a problem. And yes, what you said is very correct, that now that more or less one knows that what are the medicines and all, a rate can be prescribed. But then here, if you see, most of the state government has their own rate. So you cannot fix, IRDA cannot fix another rate over the state government. Maharashtra government has its own rate. Kerala government has its own rate. So that confusion is also there. That is the reason why IRDA has not been able to, I'm not propagating in favor of IRDA, but that is the reason why IRDA is not able to take a very uniform policy that what will be charged in what state? Which state? Because each state government has also fixed some kind of a maximum rate or a minimum rate.
Right.
So it needs a very larger thing. It needs a very larger, I mean, what you call forum to take it on, which has not happened. Because it has been always easy to go to the court, get some kind of an order. Kerala High Court is there, Delhi High Court is there. Every day you must be reading, a lot of judgments are coming from Delhi High Court.
Correct. Correct.
But here, you know, when there is interesting case, interesting thing I will tell you. What happened? Delhi High Court said that in a matter of half an hour or 1 hour, the insurance company has to approve the hospital whatever they are saying. It basically means whatever the hospitals, suppose a patient is coming to get admission, the hospital will check and they will take a approval, because cashless you have to take a prior approval.
Yes.
So they have to ask the insurance companies. So here the court is saying that in a matter of 30 minutes or 60 minutes you have to give approval, because by delaying you are you are killing the patient. But here the insurance companies are saying the hospitals are using this 30 to 60 seconds to extract, to forcefully to agree to their rate. So here again there is a trust deficit. So
Okay.
who will intervene, or who will sort it out?
Very important aspect that you've raised. And
these
let
are
me take it
very large
across.
issues.
Yes, to our other two panelists. First, to Pankaj and then to Dr. Harsh Mahajan as well. The trust deficit, the blame game, Pankaj, between the insurance companies and the hospitals, saying they're the ones denying it, they're the ones delaying it. Who fixes this? How do we fix this?
So basically, Tanvi, I'll tell you, I think this is something that every day, you know, both insurance companies as well as hospitals are learning the game, right? It's a new game for everybody. Insurance company never had this product in place maybe 14 months back. Today they are learning the supply chain is very different from what it was for other products that insurance companies. There is no price inbuilt into the entire product. There is something which has come up like a pandemic, which we are trying to solve through a professional outfits. But my view here is that hospitals, obviously there are challenges. I will not generalize it that across the board there will be challenges. There are few pockets where you've seen demand and supply, huge gap. Even so, I'll take a view very, very neutral here, because hospitals are facing a lot of churn in terms of the way these guys have been working for last 14 months. There is a pressure on the entire ecosystem with respect to cost, respect to the availability of staff, the respect of overtimes that has been paid. So there are challenges on hospital side. There are challenges on insurance side. We have seen the coverage. If you collect 57,000 crores in a year and there is a claim which is already there at 23,000 crores, I think there are challenges. I think both the entities, what the team just said, I think government along with the insurer, IRDA, as well as the hospital bodies, apex bodies have to sit together and converge to a view that this is how this process should work. Because there is no ready-made solution that I can see which is happening. It's very, very scattered in pockets. Some of the places are doing pretty well. Some of the pockets, consumers are facing a lot of challenges. So I think this is rightly being quoted by somebody that all the three stakeholders have to sit together, and there has to be an entire supply chain that needs to work in the best interest of the country as well as the best interest of the consumer. That's the view that I would get.
Well, I just want to highlight a few of the examples, just the different kinds of problems that people are facing. There was, for example, from Maharashtra, there was one case that emerged where this resident got a bill of 2.8 lakh rupees from the hospital, of which only 11,000 was actually covered by the insurance company. It actually went all the way to the court, and even then the insurance company reportedly only paid up 8,000 rupees more. In another incident in Noida, a 6 lakh bill came when the wife of one of the customers got COVID, and that 6 lakh bill is still pending. Wasn't paid up then. No reimbursement has happened now. In Aligarh, somebody got a bill of 2.75 lakh rupees and only 26% of that was actually reimbursed. Instance after incidents from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Delhi, mails have been sent, verbal requests sent, claims are still pending by the insurance companies. Somebody actually got admitted, got infected, awaited hospitalization, and there were options, obviously reimbursement or cashless available. This person went in for reimbursement so that it's faster and you don't have to wait at at that given point, and later on was told that charges for infection control are actually not payable, and so got badly stuck. Another software professional from Kolkata had a bill of about 2.7 lakh, only got 80,000 of this, was told remdesivir injections are not covered under this. So Dr. Mahajan, it comes down to again a larger challenge that we're facing, and I don't think any of us are saying that it's only one side to blame or the other, but people are having to bear the brunt of it. People who are already going through the nightmare of COVID itself. Will having a health regulator solve this problem in any way?
Well, it could. It could. I agree with Mr. Swain that, the IRDA is hardly the body which can say whether this treatment was fine or not, or this is how it should be done. When for COVID, actually, everyone is struggling, including, the best of hospitals, because it's a dynamic treatment which keeps changing. So if there is a health regulator, that health regulator may have the competence to look at both sides of the picture. But from the examples that you've given, Tanvi, it's very, very clear that there is something wrong with the actual policy itself. There may be fine print written which excludes certain things, and that's why someone who's got a bill of 2.8 lakhs and then getting a few thousands reimbursed means that there's something wrong with the policy. And this is where I would suggest that the hospital bodies and the insurance companies need to actually sit together. There's been huge learning in the last 15 months. And I again repeat that they need to sit together and sort out these problems, because ultimately, even though the hospital suffers, the insurance company suffers, but the patient suffers the most. And like you rightly said, he or she has gone through COVID, suffered because of that. And at the end of the day, they realized that we took a policy, and these are COVID specific policies. These are not only general policies that they had, and even there, things are not covered. I think there's some shortcoming which only by sitting together, it can be sorted out, because the health regulator, even if it comes, it's going to take months and years for it to come. It's not going to happen overnight. And we are going through this problem right now.
Correct. And then for a regulator to find its feet, to find its teeth, and to actually start taking action is also going to take a while. Meanwhile, we have to figure out some kind of solution. This is just the beginning. We're going to do a special series every day, bring out specific aspects of COVID and insurance for our viewers. And I'm hoping to have all of you back on some more conversations over the next 1 week as well. Thank you so much for joining us. A big, big challenge this COVID time, and something that doesn't often get talked about is the insurance claims. Nobody really at that point has too much time to run around and figure out what the details will be. When you are at the hospital, when you search for hours together to get a bed and your relative's health is deteriorating, they need urgent COVID treatment, you finally got a bed, you finally got a medical staff who's responding to you, you take what you get. But once your family member is back home and then you get the medical bill, is when the second battle really begins. The battle to figure out the finances, the battle to file your claims, the battle to get your money back from the insurance companies for what you've paid, to justify everything that the hospital has billed you, is a massive challenge that hundreds of people in our country are facing even now as we come off the second wave peak. Something that the government and the regulators need to look into and ensure that this doesn't happen by the time the third wave is here. Thank you so much for joining us.